christening of the 8th child of the Robert Kennedys is the occasion for a gathering of Kennedy relatives headed by the president at the resort St. Francis Xavier Roman Catholic Church.
Is the 9th child as exciting and mysterious and have as much pride connected with it as the first one, Mrs. Kennedy?
Yes, he really does.
How do you maintain discipline with 9 children in the house?
I stay in the hospital and let Bobby attend to all that.
Is the number 10 the number for the Kennedys?
Well, we're very pleased, and I don't know what the ideal family, but we're very pleased, and she said that she'd like to have more children, and I think she said that.
When he comes home, he doesn't ask what's new, he asks who's new. George Washington may have been called the father of our country, but Bobby Kennedy is.
The question was, well, what is my feeling about federal involvement in birth control programs, broader here? I mean, personally, or... I don't want the federal government in my house.
His house is Hickory Hill, overflowing with children and dogs, horses and goats, owls and falcons. A circus in perpetual motion where the action never stops.
You'd go out there and you couldn't rest. There was no possible way of sitting down. You'd have to play touch football, you'd have to play tennis, you'd have to go into the pool. He didn't approve of anybody who just sat down. So it was very tough. You had to be prepared for it. You had to kind of work your way up as an athlete in order to really enjoy the place. And he played for real. In touch football, he really, he hit you pretty hard. And this was touch football, too. And he didn't like to lose. And I must say, Ethel doesn't like to lose so much either. And the kids don't like to lose either. So it's a family trait. And the best thing you can do the best thing you could do when you went out there is to lose.
In the tradition of his own boyhood, he rears his children in the school of excellence. With limited time to spend at home, he makes every moment count, and each of the many children feel an individual bond of affection.
Do you ever worry about how your children are ever going to be able to feel that they've in any way topped what you've done?
You know, I think that they'll develop their own lives, and I have a son. I talked to one of my sons about it one time, and we were talking about what he was going to do, and he said that he wanted to make, he was 12 years old, and he wanted to make a contribution. And I said, but he said, I don't want to get involved in political life. And I said, well, what do you want to do? And he said, I want to make a contribution. He loves animals, and he loves, and just knows all about it, and read a lot of books. And he said, I want to make a contribution like Darwin and Audubon did. And so I think people work out their own lives. He wants to make that kind of contribution, and I think the other ones will do the same thing, just as long as they understand that in the last analysis, what is important, that they give something to others and not just turn in on themselves.
Affirming a creed of action, he brings his family into the world of sports and adventure, emboldening them to follow in his footsteps. Facing physical risk is almost his obsession, and as sport turns into a test of daring, he presses his nerve, his will to the limit. In the Yukon, the Canadian government names a mountain after John Kennedy, and Robert Kennedy is determined to be the first to scale its perilous 14,000 feet. Although a U.S. Senator, the father of 9, nearly 40 years old, unskilled in mountaineering, he will not be dissuaded. Through wind and snow and ice, he conquers the peak. But a question lingers.
Do you think you're sometimes reckless?
No, I don't think I'm reckless.
But you like physical risk, don't you?
Well, I enjoy doing some, I suppose, some of those kinds of things. But I don't think that that's either. Hamilton wrote that men are not, or Aeschylus, about Aeschylus, that men are not made for safe havens. And I suppose that, you know, that's part of a human being's life, or a man's life.
The same total commitment is the mark of his campaign. In the middle of May, he is now headlong into the Oregon primary, his campaign staff rushing to keep up with his furious pace. Intent on victory in every primary, he allows no time to relax, no time to relent. People of Oregon are not moved. Unresponsive audiences, haggard moments of fatigue, foretell the first defeat Robert Kennedy has ever known.
Government, it seems to me, must make similar decisions according to what will yield the greatest social return and benefit to the American people. And I would hope that this kind of legislation, which had the support of Republicans, had the support of Southern Democrats, as well as Northern Democrats, would have the support of the next administration, and that we can get it passed. It will if I'm elected president. If I'm elected president, it will. Why did I lose? Just because I didn't do well enough. I mean, there wasn't any, I can just, the only fault or blame is me. I can't, that's me. I suppose I'd say, as Abraham Lincoln said about the man who was carried out on a steel rail out of the city, and he said that except for the honor, I'd like to have passed it up. But that's the same way I feel about Oregon. Except for the distinction of being the first Kennedy to lose. I just as sooner pass.
I'm impatient. I suppose I would hope everybody be impatient. And there was somebody wrote on the pyramids, time they were being constructed, the words, and no one was angry enough to speak out. I think people should be angry enough to speak out. I think there are injustices, and I think there are unfairnesses in my own country and around the world, and I think that if one feels it involved in it, that one should try to do something about it.
This is the beginning of what Senator Kennedy hopes will be a comeback trail, a comeback that will somehow offset his stunning loss to Gene McCarthy in Oregon. It will take a very big win, a spectacular win in California, to repair the badly shattered Kennedy image.
Embodying a summons to action, a demand for change, he goes among the people, reaching out to them, touching their hopes and their nerves. California is the last chance, and he drives his message hard. If his crusade of impatience brings exultation to some, it brings fear to others. Like all passionate leaders, he himself becomes the issue. The focus of love, the focus of hate, surging, shouting,